Hi, my name is Robin Wong, and in this video I want to talk about the video recording performance on the Olympus E-M10 Mark IV. Let's do this! It is important to note that this is not a video review of the E-M10 Mark IV. I'm not qualified to do that. I'm not a cinematographer. I'm really sharing my experience shooting video with the E-M10 Mark IV, shooting a live music performance, as well as doing vlogs as seen on this channel. Most of the footage as seen in this video was shot on the E-M10 Mark IV. I'll leave a note at the bottom to tell you whether the footage you're seeing was taken from the E-M10 Mark IV or any other cameras. I used two lenses, the 45 f1.8 and the 17 f1.8. I've also brought the E-M10 Mark IV to shoot a live music performance my dear friend Bichu was performing, and I've already shared a sample 4K footage from the E-M10 Mark IV. I'll put the link up here for the video. Please watch it before we continue. The discussion here will be based on that live music shooting as well as my vlogging using the E-M10 Mark IV. Let's start with the good news. The 5-axis image stabilization in the E-M10 Mark IV does a splendid job in keeping the video footage really steady, shake-free, and almost gimbal-like. I was shooting with the 75 f1.8 lens for the live music performance, hand-holding the entire night, an equivalent of almost 150mm long lens. And I still get really smooth and very steady footage. That is truly impressive and what separates Olympus from any other entry-level camera offerings from other camera manufacturers. If you do a lot of vlogging, if you hold a camera with one hand walking around aimlessly, you will encounter a lot of movement in your footage. You'll definitely benefit from the 5-axis image stabilization as well. I don't like to do that. I prefer to put my camera on a sturdy tripod, just like how I'm talking to you guys right now. Olympus claimed to have improved the continuous autofocus for the video. They reworked the algorithm. They claim that they used the same face and eye detection tracking from the E-M1 Mark III. They used the same tracking in the E-M10 Mark IV. And I do find that the continuous autofocus working really well, especially when I'm shooting the stage performance. The camera manages to find the face really quickly and lock on it, although as you see in the performance, there were a lot of movement. Bichu, the main singer, she moved a lot. She never stayed still. As a singer entertaining the crowd, she has to have a lot of movement. I find that the camera does a very good job in keeping the focus, but I think that it failed about once or twice, very momentarily, but that's not a big issue. It is just me not knowing how to operate the camera. Like I said, I'm not an experienced cinematographer.
And I know everything will be okay. I'm not afraid to clean my heritage. My instincts to be great. I am gonna forge ahead.
However, I must admit that the E-M10 Mark IV, if you compare against the E-M1 Mark III, the E-M5 Mark III, it does lag behind when it comes to the face and eye detection autofocus when shooting video. This is simply because the E-M1 Mark III, the E-M5 Mark III has face detect autofocus built onto the image sensor. This helps boost the performance. It definitely can lock on the face much quicker and sticks on the face more efficiently throughout the entire shoot. The E-M10 Mark IV is slower. You need to give it a little bit of time to work. It is more gradual, but once it finds the face, it will stick onto it. And I do find it is still more reliable, and it's definitely an improvement over the previous predecessors like the E-M10 Mark III and the E-M10 Mark II. I'm generally quite happy with the video quality, the 4K video footage from the E-M10 Mark IV. It does look very similar to what I can achieve from the E-M5 Mark III and the E-M1 Mark II that I do own. Of course, it doesn't have the Cinema 4K. I don't shoot with Cinema 4K for my videos in this channel. That will be a little bit of overkill. The typical normal Ultra HD 4K resolution, they look exactly the same, or at least I can't distinguish the difference between these few cameras. That means you get the exact same performance in the E-M10 Mark IV shooting the normal 4K. This part is for those of you who are curious about how the internal microphone of the E-M10 Mark IV sounds. Currently, I'm not exactly at the quietest environment. I'm sure there's a lot of environmental noise you can pick up by the camera. I still highly recommend that you record your voice separately with the voice recorder or a microphone and you sync it up later in post-production. Unfortunately, that's where the good news ends. It is quite clear that Olympus didn't prioritize video or vlogging for the E-M10 Mark IV's design. It is very obvious when you see that there's no swivel screen, it is using tilt screen instead, and there is no audio or microphone input. That is a bummer because this camera does have very good stabilization, quite reliable autofocus, and the 4K resolution is quite respectable. Unfortunately, it's been crippled by not having swivel screen and the microphone input. But looking at it from another perspective, Olympus didn't promise this being a vlogging camera. They didn't advertise this as a video-centric camera. It is a photography-centric camera, and if you are a serious photographer, whether you're a professional or a hobbyist, especially if you are a street photographer, you will treasure the tilt screen because the tilt screen is a lot more discreet. You can be more stealthier when you are out there shooting without people knowing that you're actually using the camera, and it is much quicker to tilt the screen up and down to achieve that low angle or high angle shots in comparison to the swivel mechanism when it's used on the camera. I do feel that the E-M10 Mark IV is a more specific photography camera. Feel free to disagree with me. I know a lot of people are not happy it doesn't have swivel screen, it doesn't have microphone input. That's all I have to share about the video performance on the E-M10 Mark IV. If you found my sharing useful, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can donate directly to my PayPal account. I'll leave the links in the descriptions below on how you can do that. Any small contribution can go a long way and help me to continue make similar videos and publish them right here. If you have enjoyed watching this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to this channel if you're not already done so. And I will definitely see you again in the next one. Until then, please go out and take more photographs if you can. And always stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.